Have you ever stayed awake at night thinking about someone, replaying every word they said, every action they took, and asking yourself, why did they do this? What do they think of me? And then you wake up exhausted, emotionally drained, and realize you gave them a power they never even asked for. Friends, today I want to tell you something very simple yet very powerful. Don't think too much about anyone, not your boss, not your friend, not your past lover, not even someone you admire. Because when you overthink about others, you forget the most important person in your life, you. Friends, I want you to pause for a moment and think about this. Your energy, your time, your thoughts are the most precious things you have. You cannot earn them back, you cannot buy them. And yet so often we give them away freely to people who don't even realize the value of what we're offering. How many of us have spent hours thinking about someone, maybe a colleague, a friend, or even someone we admire, wondering what they said, what they meant, or why they didn't reply. And what do we get in return? Stress, anxiety, sleepless nights, worry lines on our faces. And yet we keep doing it as if our mental energy is unlimited. But it's not. Every thought you give to someone else is a thought you take away from yourself. Imagine this. Every morning, the universe gives you 24 hours, 1,440 minutes, or 86,400 seconds. Every second is a tiny coin of energy. And you are the only person who decides how to spend it. You can spend it worrying about what someone thinks of you, or you can spend it creating something beautiful, learning something new, laughing with your loved ones, meditating, walking in nature, discovering your purpose. When you think too much about others, it's like carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones that don't belong to you. Every extra thought about someone else weighs you down. And the sad truth, that person might not even care about the weight you are carrying. They are living their life, and you are paying the cost for their existence without even realizing it. So my dear friends, the first lesson is simple yet life-changing. Protect your energy. Your thoughts are sacred. Your emotions are sacred. Your time is sacred. Don't give it away to people, situations, or memories that don't nurture you. Instead, invest your energy in yourself. Because when you take care of your mind, your heart, and your spirit, you can shine. And only then can you truly help others without losing yourself in the process. Remember this, life is too short to spend thinking about people who are not thinking about you or who do not add value to your life. Guard your energy like the treasure it is, because once lost, it cannot be retrieved. And the moment you start valuing your energy, the moment you stop overthinking about everyone else, that's when freedom, peace, and happiness find their way into your life. Friends, let me share a simple truth with you, one that can change the way you live your life. The truth is, most people are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. Not even a little. They are busy, completely, utterly busy with their own thoughts, their own worries, their own ambitions, their own problems. And yet, how often do we lie awake at night rehearsing conversations, wondering if someone is angry at us, or obsessing over why they didn't call or message? I have seen it so many times. People, young and old, sitting at home, scrolling endlessly on social media, comparing themselves to others, overanalyzing what someone said a week ago, and wondering, why didn't they reply? What do they think of me? And the reality is, they probably didn't even notice. They have their own lives, their own struggles, their own joy, their own pain, and you're spending your precious energy thinking about them. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people in an office. One is constantly worried about what the boss thinks. They overthink every small word, every glance, every decision. They lose sleep, lose appetite, lose peace. Meanwhile, the boss is busy running the entire office, managing clients, solving problems, thinking about their own career. Are they really sitting there planning to hurt you or thinking about your every move? No, they are preoccupied just like everyone else. And yet we give our happiness away by believing the story our mind creates. This is why it's so important to remind ourselves, people are busy with their own lives. Everyone is running their own race. Everyone is fighting their own battles, and most of the time they don't even notice the things we worry about. So why spend your mental energy fretting over them? Why let your peace be stolen by assumptions, by doubts, by imagined scenarios that might never exist? Here's the freedom in this realization. When you understand that everyone is busy with their own lives, you stop overthinking their actions. Stop attaching your happiness to their approval. You stop letting someone else's indifference or ignorance control your inner peace. And suddenly you feel lighter, freer, happier. Your mind stops spinning in circles and you can focus on what truly matters: your own growth, your own happiness, your own life. So, my dear friends, remember this simple rule. Don't take it personally. People are busy. Your thoughts, your doubts, your fears, they are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. Accept this truth. Embrace it. And you will discover a sense of calm and liberation that is priceless. When you stop overthinking about everyone else, you reclaim your time, your energy, your life. You realize that the world doesn't owe you attention, and you don't need their approval to feel complete. The moment you internalize this, that is when peace becomes your constant companion. Friends, let me tell you something that happens to all of us, whether we admit it or not. Overthinking, overanalyzing, constantly replaying events in our minds creates illusions. Illusions that feel very real, illusions that feel heavy, illusions that feel like the absolute truth. And yet they are nothing more than stories our mind has invented. Think about it. You have a conversation with someone, maybe a friend, a colleague, or a partner, and later your mind starts running a movie. Every word they said, every expression, every silence is dissected, analyzed, and magnified. Did they mean it this way? Did they judge me? Are they upset with me? And suddenly, you are no longer living in reality. You are trapped in the illusion your mind has created. Here's the tricky part. The mind is a fantastic storyteller. It can take a small fact, a casual comment, a look, a gesture, and spin it into a story that feels bigger than life. You might start believing things that never happened. You might assume motives that don't exist. And in the process, you carry anger that was never deserved, sadness that was never necessary, and fear that was never real. I have met so many people who suffer not because of what others did, but because of what they imagined others did. They create mountains out of pebbles. They write novels out of a single sentence. And the saddest part is once your mind creates these illusions, they feel real. They start affecting your behavior, your relationships, your sleep, your joy. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a friend doesn't reply to your message immediately. Within your mind, a whole story unfolds. They must be angry with me. They don't like me anymore. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I'm not important to them. And yet, the reality could be simple. They were busy or tired or distracted. But the illusion you created becomes more real than the actual truth, and you suffer unnecessarily. Friends, this is why overthinking is so dangerous. It doesn't just steal your time, it steals your peace. It turns reality into a distorted mirror. It makes mountains out of molehills and creates storms in a teacup, and the mind doesn't even warn you. It convinces you that the illusion is reality. So, what is the solution? Awareness. Observe your thoughts. Question your assumptions. Ask yourself, is this real or is this just my mind creating a story? When you start seeing the difference between reality and illusion, you stop giving your energy to things that don't exist. You stop worrying about scenarios that may never happen. And slowly you regain control over your mind, your peace, and your happiness. Remember this: overthinking doesn't reveal truth. It hides it. It doesn't solve problems. It creates new ones. And the moment you realize this, the moment you stop feeding these illusions, life becomes lighter, simpler, and infinitely more joyful. You begin to live in reality, not in the endless stories your mind loves to tell. Friends, here is a truth that is both simple and profound. Life is full of things we cannot control. Other people's thoughts, words, actions, and decisions, the circumstances that unfold around us, even the outcomes of our efforts. So much is outside our hands. And yet, How much of our time, energy, and peace do we waste trying to control the uncontrollable? Think about it for a moment. How many nights have you stayed awake worrying about what someone thinks of you? How many hours have you spent trying to figure out why someone did something or why someone didn't act the way you wanted them to? The reality is, no matter how much why you think, analyze, or plan, you cannot control other people. You cannot control their moods, their opinions, or their actions. You cannot control events, circumstances, or outcomes. You can only control yourself. And this is the key. When you focus on what you can control, you reclaim your power. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, your attitude, these are yours to manage. And once you focus on them, you become unstoppable. Instead of wasting energy over someone else's choices, you channel your energy into building your own life, your own happiness, your own peace. Let me give you an example. Imagine two students preparing for an exam. One keeps worrying about whether their classmates are smarter, whether the teacher will like them, or whether luck will favor them. The other focuses on studying diligently, revising consistently, and giving their best effort. Who will feel calmer? Who will have more confidence? And who is more likely to succeed? It's simple. Control what you can and let go of what you cannot. Friends, this principle applies to relationships, careers, and even daily life. You cannot control someone else's love, respect, or attention, but you can control how you behave, how you speak, and how you treat yourself and others. You cannot control the world's circumstances, but you can control your response to them. And in controlling your responses, you gain inner peace, strength, and freedom. Here's Snort's another powerful truth. People often give away their happiness by trying to control others. They try to change someone else, convince them, manipulate situations, and all they get is frustration, anger, and disappointment. Why? Because the only thing you can truly change is yourself. Accept it, embrace it, and start investing your energy there. When you stop worrying about what you cannot control and focus on what you can, something magical happens. Feel lighter. Your mind becomes calmer. You start taking positive action instead of spinning in circles of doubt. You begin to see opportunities instead of obstacles. You begin to experience freedom instead of frustration. And that, my dear friends, is the key to a peaceful and meaningful life. So remember this golden rule. Control your actions, control your thoughts, control your energy. Don't waste it trying to control people, outcomes, or circumstances that are beyond your reach. Focus on what you can control, and you will discover a life filled with calm, clarity, and happiness. Because true power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. Friends, this is a truth that can change your life. If you truly understand it, your self-worth does not depend on what others think of you. Not your boss, not your friend, not a partner, not even someone you deeply admire. Your value, your dignity, your inner light, none of it is determined by external opinions. Yet so often we hand over the key to our self-esteem to someone else and then wonder why we feel anxious, insecure, or sad. Let me ask you this. How many times have you felt hurt because someone didn't appreciate you? How many times have you doubted yourself because someone didn't notice your efforts? How many times have you compared yourself to others feeling smaller, less worthy, or inadequate? And the sad truth is the person whose opinion you are worried about probably isn't even thinking about you half as much as you think. Even if they are, their perspective is just their perspective. It doesn't define your reality. Here's the reality. Self-worth comes from within. It comes from knowing your own strengths, your own values, your own purpose. It comes from treating yourself with kindness, from honoring your own journey, from accepting yourself fully even with flaws and mistakes. When you start measuring your worth by external validation, you are giving away your power. You are saying my happiness and my value depend on someone else, and that is a recipe for suffering. Let me share a simple story. There was once a man who worked tirelessly in his job. He put his heart and soul into every task, But his manager never seemed to notice. He kept waiting for praise, for recognition, for a pat on the back. And each time he didn't get it, he felt sad, disappointed, and frustrated. Then one day, he realized something profound. The manager's opinion does not define his abilities. The value of his work is in the work itself, in the effort he puts in, not in someone else's approval. The moment he internalized this, he felt lighter, freer, and more confident. His energy was no longer wasted chasing validation. It was now invested in growth, joy, and excellence. Friends, think about it. Every time you allow someone else to define your self-worth, you give away control over your own happiness. You allow another person's mood, perception, or ignorance to dictate how you feel about yourself. And that is unnecessary suffering. The key is to realize you are complete, you are valuable, you are worthy, not because of what anyone else thinks, but because you exist, because you have a heart, a mind, and a purpose, because you are a unique creation with gifts the world needs. When you truly understand that your self-worth is not in anyone else's hands, everything changes. You stop seeking approval. You stop fearing judgment. You stop overthinking what people think. You begin to live authentically. You begin to act with courage, speak with confidence, and love without fear. You begin to live a life that is truly yours and not someone else's reflection of you. So, my dear friends, remember this. Your value is intrinsic. It cannot be increased or decreased by anyone else. It is not dependent on recognition, praise, or acceptance. It exists simply because you exist. Protect it, honor it, nourish it. And the moment you start believing in your own worth, the world cannot shake you, because true strength, true confidence, and true happiness come from within. Friends, let's talk about someone we all carry around with us, someone we can never escape. It's not your boss, it's not your neighbor, it's not even the world, it's your own mind. That little voice inside your head that constantly judges, criticizes, and doubts you, the inner critic. And if you're not careful, it can become the loudest voice in your life. How many times have you wanted to try something new, learn a skill, speak up in a meeting, or express your feelings, but then you hear that voice whispering, "You're not good enough. You'll fail. They laugh at you. Why even try?" And before you know it, your dreams, your ideas, your courage have all been silenced. And the sad truth is, this voice is often louder than the voices of those around you. Here's the irony. Most of the criticism we hear from others is temporary. It comes and goes. But the criticism we give ourselves lingers. It becomes a shadow following us everywhere. It convinces us to stay small. It convinces us that we're less than we truly are. And over time, if we don't recognize it, we start believing it. We stop ourselves from reaching our potential simply because we've been listening to a story our mind has created. Let me tell you a story. There was a young woman who wanted to pursue her dream of becoming an artist. Every time she tried to paint or show her work, that inner voice would speak, "You're not talented. Others are better. What if you fail?" She started listening to it so much that she almost gave up. But one day she realized something powerful. That voice was not the truth. It was fear. And fear is always louder than confidence when left unchecked. She decided to respond, not react. She started painting for herself, for joy, not for judgment. Slowly she found her confidence, her creativity, and her voice. And the inner critic, it became just background noise. Friends, your inner critic is not your enemy. It's a messenger, a reminder of fear. But here's the key. You don't have to obey it. You can observe it, you can acknowledge it, and then you can choose to act anyway. Every time you silence that inner critic, even for a moment, you reclaim a piece of your power. Every time you stop letting it dictate your choices, you strengthen your courage, your confidence, and your happiness. Think about this. Your mind is like a garden. If you allow weeds of doubt, fear, and criticism to grow unchecked, they will take over. But if you water seeds of self-belief, kindness, and positivity, they will flourish. Silencing the inner critic doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let fear control your life. It means listening to your dreams more than your doubts. So, my dear friends, the next time that voice inside your head starts speaking, don't fight it. Don't give it power. Observe it. Smile at it. And then gently redirect your focus to what truly matters: your growth, your purpose, your happiness. Because the moment you silence your inner critic, the world becomes bigger, your dreams become closer, and your life becomes lighter and fuller. Remember, your mind is powerful, but you are more powerful than the stories it tells. Train it, guide it, and watch as your life transforms. Don't let an imagined voice steal your real joy. Friends, let's talk about something very important. Something that can bring deep peace into your life if you understand it. The art of detachment. Now, when I say detachment, some of you might think I mean not caring, being cold, or ignoring people. That is not detachment. True detachment is very different. It is the art of caring, but not losing yourself in what you cannot control. Think about how often we tie our happiness to someone else's actions, decisions, or approval. If they are happy, we are happy. If they are upset, we feel upset. If they compliment us, we feel valued. If they criticize us, we feel hurt. And in this process, our peace, our joy, our mental calm becomes a hostage to someone else's choices. That, my friends, is the opposite of freedom. Detachment is about caring deeply without letting it control you. It's about being involved in life, in relationships, in work, but not letting your inner peace depend on outcomes. It's about giving your best and being okay with the results, because life is unpredictable. People have their own minds, their own desires, their own journeys, and no matter how much you want to control it, you cannot control everything. Let me give you an example. Imagine a parent and a child. The parent loves the child deeply, nurtures them, teaches them, and guides them. But as the child grows, they make their own choices. Sometimes choices the parent disagrees with. A detached parent does not stop caring. They still love and guide, but they do not lay their happiness depend on the child's every action. They trust a child's journey while staying anchored in their own inner peace. The same applies to friendships, careers, and relationships. Detachment is not ignoring responsibilities or becoming selfish. It is loving and engaging fully without allowing the result to dictate your mood, your peace, or your self-worth. It's about doing your duty with excellence, but leaving the rest to life. And this, my friends, is where true freedom begins. Here's the magic of detachment. When you practice it, your mind stops spinning in circles of anxiety, worry, and overthinking. Your heart is no longer pulled in 100 directions. You stop suffering from imagined scenarios, from outcomes you cannot influence. You start living in the present moment, fully engaged, fully aware, and fully alive. And ironically, when you let go, life often unfolds in ways more beautiful than you could have controlled. Friends, detachment is also about perspective. It reminds us that people, circumstances, and events come and go. Life is a river constantly moving. If you cling to everything, expecting permanence in impermanent things, you will drown in frustration. But if you learn to hold lightly, to care deeply yet not be consumed, you flow with life rather than fight against it. And that, my dear friends, is the essence of peace. So the next time you find yourself overthinking about someone, the next time your happiness is tied to someone else's actions, pause, breathe, remember the art of detachment. Care but don't clutch, love but don't chain. Engage but don't enslave your peace. And slowly you will discover a freedom that is unshakable, a calm that is unbreakable, and a joy that is not dependent on anyone else. True detachment is not separation from life. It is liberation within life. Learn it, practice it, and watch how Li becomes lighter. Your heart becomes fuller, and your mind becomes a sanctuary of peace. Friends, let's pause and reflect on something very important. So much of our energy, time, and attention goes into thinking about others, into worrying about what someone said, did, or might do. We speculate endlessly, creating scenarios in our minds that often never happen. And while we are doing that, who suffers our peace, our growth, our happiness, All suffer because the truth is simple. Life is short and energy is limited. And the best investment you can ever make is in yourself. Imagine this. Someone spends hours overthinking a colleague's comment or a friend's reaction or a loved one's behavior. That is mental energy being spent outside of themselves. And the return almost nothing. Stress, anxiety, frustration, sleepless nights. Meanwhile, if that same energy were invested in learning a new skill, reading a book, exercising, meditating, or improving relationships in positive ways, the returns would be infinite. That is the power of investing in yourself. Friends, life is full of uncertainty. People will disappoint you. Situations will change. Circumstances will surprise you. And no amount of worrying, guessing, or overthinking will change that. But there is one thing you can control. The person you are becoming, the skills you are learning, the habits you are nurturing, the relationships you are improving, and the inner peace you are cultivating. That is a guaranteed investment. That is a return you can truly depend on. Let me share a story. There was a young man who constantly worried about what people thought of him. He spent nights imagining scenarios, trying to anticipate how others would react, and seeking approval that never came. His energy was drained, his mind restless, his confidence shaken. One day, a wise mentor told him, "Stop investing in speculation. Invest in yourself. Focus on your skills, your mindset, your health, your relationships. That is the only investment you can control, and it will always pay you back." He took this advice to heart. Slowly, he stopped overthinking others and started nurturing himself. His confidence grew, his happiness increased, and ironically, people started noticing and respecting him. Not because he sought approval, but because he was fully alive and fully invested in himself. Friends, here is the essence. Speculating about others, imagining their thoughts, predicting their behavior, it's like throwing money into a well with no bottom. You get nothing back but investing in yourself. The way you think, the way you act, the way you grow, exponential returns. It builds resilience, joy, knowledge, skills, and inner peace. And most importantly, it makes you independent of others' opinions or behaviors. Think about it this way. Your life is your most valuable asset. Your mind, body, heart, and soul are your portfolio. Every hour you spend overthinking someone else is an hour wasted. Every thought you give to speculation is a thought taken away from growth. But when you redirect that energy inward, when you focus on being the best version of yourself, you become unstoppable, unshakable, and unbounded. You no longer rely on external validation. You no longer suffer from imagined scenarios. You are free, confident, and empowered. So, my dear friends, make a conscious choice today. Invest in yourself. Learn, grow, improve, meditate, love, and nurture your own mind and heart. Stop spending mental currency on speculation about others. Focus on the person you can become, because the best investment you ever make is in yourself. And the returns inner peace, confidence, happiness, and a life fully lived. Friends, let me share a little secret about our minds. Our mind is like a monkey. Yes, a monkey jumping from branch to branch, restless, never satisfied, always moving, always chattering, always creating noise. One moment it is thinking about the past, the next moment it is worrying about the future. And sometimes it even drags us into imagining things that never happened and may never happen. And while the monkey is jumping, our peace, our focus, our happiness all swing along with it, often upside down. Think about it. You have a conversation with someone and your mind starts replaying every word, every expression, every gesture. Then it starts imagining scenarios. Did they mean this? Are they upset with me? What if I said the wrong thing? And before you know it, the monkey has climbed onto another branch and is jumping into a new worry, a new fear, a new doubt. And this goes on day and nightly, a never-ending circus in your head. The truth is, our mind is restless by nature. It is designed to think, to process, to solve problems. But when left unchecked, it becomes a monkey that swings wildly. creating unnecessary stress, doubts, and overthinking. And here's the catch. The more you feed it, the louder it becomes. The more attention you give to it, the more it jumps and the less peace you experience. Let me give you an example. Imagine a student who is preparing for an exam. Every time they try to focus, the mind monkey starts. What if I fail? What if I am not good enough? What if someone else is smarter? The monkey jumps from fear to doubt to distraction. And instead of studying calmly, the student spends hours worrying, imagining, and overthinking. The result: stress, exhaustion, and wasted time. But if the student learns to calm the monkey, to focus, to observe thoughts without getting entangled, suddenly studying becomes effective, calm, and joyful. Friends, the key is not to fight the monkey. You cannot R it completely, nor can you stop it from jumping. The key is to train it, guide it, and gently redirect it. Meditation, mindfulness, focusing on the present moment, gratitude. These are the tools to calm the monkey mind. They don't silence it completely, but they teach it where to jump, how to rest, and when to stay still. Here's the deeper truth. Overthinking about others, replaying conversations, worrying about someone else's opinions, all of this is the monkey swinging wildly. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't help the situation. It only steals your energy, your focus, your peace. The moment you recognize this, the moment you see your mind as a monkey rather than the truth, you stop feeding it unnecessary thoughts. You stop giving power to imagine fears and doubts, and your mind slowly becomes a tool instead of a tyrant. Friends, life is too short to let your mind monkey run your happiness. Learn to watch it, guide it, and redirect it. The monkey will jump, yes, but you can choose where it lands. And when you do that, you reclaim your focus, your energy, your peace, and your joy. You begin to live life intentionally rather than letting your mind swing you around like a puppet on its branches. Remember, your mind is powerful but restless. Your mind is creative but mischievous. Train it, calm it, guide it, and when you master the monkey, your life becomes calmer, clearer, and infinitely more joyful. Friends, let me leave you with a truth that is simple yet incredibly powerful. Happiness does not come from outside. It does not come from someone else's approval, from wealth, from possessions, or from circumstances. Happiness begins within. And until you realize this, you will keep searching for it in all the wrong places, giving away your peace to things and people that can never truly satisfy you. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you thought, I'll be happy when someone loves me, when that promotion, when I have more money, when things finally go my way? And how often does that when arrive only for you to find that the happiness is temporary, fleeting, dependent on external factors? Friends, this is the trap most of us fall into. We keep waiting for conditions to be perfect, for others to behave the way we want, for the world to finally align with our desires, and in the process we lose today. This moment are only relived. Happiness, real happiness, is a choice. It is a skill, and it begins with looking inward. It begins with understanding that you are whole, complete, and enough exactly as you are. It begins with gratitude for what you have rather than longing for what you don't. It begins with peace in your mind, acceptance in your heart, and kindness in your soul. And when you cultivate this inner happiness, the external world no longer has the power to disturb you. You become like a calm lake, peaceful, reflective, and steady, no matter how much the winds of life blow. Let me share a story. There was a man who was constantly seeking happiness from others. He tried to please everyone, gain approval, and fit in. Yet no matter what he did, he felt empty. One day a wise teacher told him, stop looking for happiness outside. Turn inward, find joy in yourself. At first he didn't understand, but slowly he started practicing gratitude, mindfulness, and self-love. He started valuing his own company, nurturing his own passions, and accepting life as it came. And then something remarkable happened. He felt truly happy. Not because the world changed, but because he changed inside. His happiness was no longer dependent on anyone or anything. It was steady, radiant, and unshakable. Friends, the beauty of happiness beginning within is that it is not temporary. It is not fragile. It cannot be taken away by circumstances or people. When you learn to be content with yourself, when you cultivate joy in simple moments, when you nurture love and peace in your heart, you become the source of your own happiness. And that, my friends, is true freedom. So what does this mean in the context of today's message? Don't think too much about anyone. It means this. When you stop giving your energy away, when you stop overthinking about others, when you stop tying your happiness to their actions, opinions, or approval, you create space for yourself, space to grow, space to love, space to enjoy life. And in that space, happiness blooms naturally, effortlessly, beautifully, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Remember this, friends. The journey to happiness is not about changing the world or changing people or getting the perfect circumstances. It is about changing your perspective, nurturing your mind and cultivating joy within. When you learn that happiness begins within, you carry it everywhere. It doesn't depend on anyone else. It doesn't fade with external events. It becomes your constant companion, your inner sunshine, your eternal peace. So my dear friends, as you leave here today, take this message to heart, invest in yourself, protect your peace, silence unnecessary worries, train your mind, practice detachment, and above all, nurture happiness within. Because when happiness begins within, life becomes radiant, meaningful, and beautiful.